I remind you all, if there is ever an Aaron Rodgers conversation, this is the show to catch the response. James Jones on the far end. He led the league in receiving touchdowns in the year 2012 with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback, a close friend of Aaron Rodgers, won a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. So any dialogue surrounding Aaron Rodgers, Speak is the place to hear people speak. So James Jones, talk to me.
Yes,
Do you expect Aaron Rodgers to play at a high level coming off of this torn Achilles at 40 years of age?
Yeah, I do. And the main reason I do is because, like I said, he ain't do nothing to his arm. Aaron Rodgers has the greatest arm talent that we've ever seen in the National Football League. I do want to see him move, though. I ain't gonna lie. I always tease him about him being 5 flat, you know what I mean, and still being able to make plays. But I do want to see him move. You're coming off of Achilles. When Aaron Rodgers is at his best, he's outside that pocket, too. A lot of these plays that Aaron Rodgers makes that we are showing highlights of, a lot of them not standing in the pocket. A lot of them is mobile, getting outside the pocket and doing what he does. So I do expect him to play at a high level because he is that type quarterback. And if he is healthy, which he looks healthy right now, I expect Aaron Rodgers to go out there and lead this team and play at a very high level. Because he's right. If he does not do what he is supposed to do, Robert Saleh, all them dudes there, this is going to be a totally different team next year because those dudes are going to be out of there. So he has to deliver. But Aaron Rodgers is definitely capable. I'm excited to see my dog go to work. I think he looks healthy. He looks a little bit leaner. It's going to be a good year.
Let me ask you this specifically, James. There was a 12-year period, Shady. Yeah. There was a 12-year period, Joy, where Aaron Rodgers averaged 4,500 passing yards, 38 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and averaged 12 wins. That was from 2010, the Super Bowl, to 2021, his last MVP. A 12-year period of which Aaron Rodgers wasn't just good, he was elite. He was averaging MVP seasons over the course of 12 years. So, James, when we talk about Aaron playing at a high level, do you expect to see that version of Aaron Rodgers?
So basically you asked me, is Aaron Rodgers going to win MVP?
Not necessarily, because
if he puts up these type numbers, he's going to be in the MVP conversation.
Yes. Will he be in the MVP conversation? That's a fair question I would ask you.
I got to wait and see.
Okay.
I got to wait and see. I got to wait and see how my dog is moving. I do. Like I say, he has one of the greatest arms, but I want to see how he's moving because when he's at his best, he's mobile, and he's getting outside the pocket. So I don't know if I can answer that yet because I want to see how my dog is moving off that Achilles.
Joy Taylor, do you expect Rodgers to play at a high level? Not MVP conversation. Let's go back to the first question. You expect high-level play?
So 4,500 yards, 38 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 105.9 passer rating.
That's elite. That's elite.
Oh, so we're not doing that.
Not elite, no.
High level is kind of like, 26 touchdown passes.
5, 6 picks.
That's high level?
37, I mean.
How's that shady?
I'm saying that
who's high level?
That won
like the NFL is high level?
I hate when you do that.
What you hate when he does?
It's like, we know why you do that. We talk about Aaron Rodgers. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers right now. Okay, let's say that. That's not going to win MVP this year, right?
Okay.
That's not going to win MVP this year?
I mean, it could.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't, no.
It should never win MVP.
Yeah, I guess what level you expect him to play at, Joy?
I think he's going to be good-ish sometimes. Ooh. We'll see.
30.
I don't think people age backwards. The numbers are not on the 40-plus-year-old quarterback side.
No.
If you take out Tom Brady, who of course curves for that, which we're going to do because he's an outlier. So let's take out Tom Brady, assuming that Aaron Rodgers is not Tom Brady, which no one does. So it's not the numbers aren't on his side. He's coming off of an Achilles injury. He really has had no real playing time to get on the same page with everybody who is on this paper, which is the reason why we're talking about the Jets as a serious team, is because of what's on paper. Because, of course, through all the talent that they've had, they haven't really had a quarterback, and then, therefore, they've had very, very little success when it comes to winning. No. Even really when it comes to being functional or making any kind of noise in the AFC, let alone in their own division. So I expect Aaron Rodgers to be goodish. The last time we saw a full season with Aaron Rodgers, he was goodish. He was goodish. Like, he was okay. They were like almost made the playoffs. He didn't throw for more than 300 yards. He was okay. So I think that Aaron Rodgers would be a massive improvement for the Jets. I don't know if that Aaron Rodgers is good enough to win the division.
It's not.
I don't know if that Aaron Rodgers is good enough to get them to the playoffs.
It's not.
I don't know if it's good enough to win a playoff game.
It's not.
So we expect him to be better than the last time we saw him fully healthy. I don't know.
If we get that Aaron Rodgers, everybody fired.
It's interesting. 2-5, I expect Rodgers to play at a very, very, very high level. And what we talk about, we don't compare Tom Brady and Rodgers often on this show, but we speak of them in the same breath. I'll say something. If we're talking about numbers, Rodgers on a seasonal basis, he has better numbers than Brady. Where Brady excels is obviously, and the most important thing, as LeSean McCoy knows, because Shady won a championship with Tom Brady, is winning. But if you're just talking Rodgers as a starter, Tom Brady averaged 30.6 passing touchdowns a season. He averaged 9.6 interceptions as a season, 64.3% completion percentage. As a starter, Aaron Rodgers averages 31 touchdowns a season, 6 interceptions a season with a 65% completion percentage. So if we're talking numbers, I expect Rodgers to have great numbers. Tom Brady is an outlier. I personally believe Aaron Rodgers, too, is an outlier. I think Aaron Rodgers is crazy talented, crazy talented. Do I expect Tom Brady to win a Super Bowl? No. And do I expect Rodgers to win a Super Bowl? No. Which is what Brady did again with the man to my right at 40-plus years of age. I don't expect that at all. But I expect Rodgers, Shady, to have some really, really nice numbers because more often than not, he does. He has an Achilles, he's 40, but I think he's one of those anomaly, freakazoid athletes, and not just athletes' athleticism, but athletes by the numbers he puts up. That's what I see. 2-5, what you see?
I think he'll have a solid year, right? And when I say solid, I mean wins. I think when we talk about Aaron Rodgers, it's always about his stats, and it's not about wins. I feel like with Tom Brady, he has a lot of stats, but when we talk about him, we talk about his wins. We don't talk about his stats.
Yes, sir.
So I would go, I can see A-Rod winning the division. And I think because the defense is going to be a lot better this year than it was last year. Offensive line, they fixed that issue a lot better this year than it was last year. And then the running games went a lot better this year than it was last year. And then the wide receivers are going to be a lot better this year than it was last year. So even though Aaron Rodgers is the focal point of the conversation, I think that he can lean more on his teammates now. Now at 40 years old, now, not being the same player he was years ago like Joy just talked about, I think that he can rely on his team. And I've seen quarterbacks, right, not even as good as Aaron Rodgers, but get a lot of credit for their team winning. Right? So I think if they do well as a group, and he doesn't have all these numbers you talked about, but they win, I think we can say, he did a great job, because that's how it really works in this league. The quarterbacks, they get praised for wins. So saying that to say this, at 40 years old, come off an Achilles injury, which is major, both of them things are, I think he'll have a good year. I'm not sure if the stats would be like we want it to be or what we think it's going to be. But I think if they win games for the Jets, that's amazing for New York.
Let's talk about winning games for the Jets then, James Jones, because Shady, you brought up you think they can compete for the division. James, Aaron Rodgers says if he doesn't play like he's supposed to play, the sound very simply said, we will be fired. That's what happens in the NFL. Robert Saleh will be fired, people are going to get fired. What's a successful season then for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers?
Getting to the Super Bowl. That's it.
Oh.
We've seen Aaron Rodgers do anything and everything, man. We just read these stats. My man averaging 12 wins and 5 losses, which means every single year he is in the playoffs with a chance to compete for a Super Bowl. He has not delivered in the playoffs, and we have not got back to a Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers has to get back to the Super Bowl. I don't care if you win it or not. I truly believe if it's not the Super Bowl, I still think everybody's jobs are in jeopardy. If you get into the playoffs and you lose the very first round with everything that Shady just said, every level you are better at. You are better at the quarterback spot. Your running back is coming off of an injury. He's going into his second year off of his injury. He is going to be better in Breece Hall. Your offensive line is better. Your receivers are 1,000 times better. Defensively, you are going to be better. You have to get to a Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers has accomplished everything else. He needs to get back to a Super Bowl. He's a 4-time MVP. We talking about 4,500 yards average on the season, 37 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. Come on, man. If he gets back to playing the way he's saying he's capable of playing, this team should be able to have a chance to get to the Super Bowl.
Difference, though. You softened the take. He softened it,
I ain't softened it.
He said have a chance. Again, you won the Super Bowl in 2010, I believe it was. The 2011 season, y'all went 15-1, James Jones. You know how hard that is to do? You did it. Y'all went 15-1. Y'all didn't win a playoff game. You know it's hard. I don't say that to throw shade. There's no need to throw shade. Your career speaks for itself. But I say that to say there's a Patrick Mahomes that exists. That's the only one I need to speak of. I won't speak of Lamar, Josh, Burrow, nobody. There's Pat that exists. Pat's kept a lot of people from Super Bowls. So how in the world can you say it would be a failure if he don't get to a Super Bowl?
Well,
do Pat.
Unless he meet Pat in the first round, it's a failure.
Okay.
So this is the thing, right? Patty got back to the Super Bowl, but we talked a lot about the defense. Aaron Rodgers has a big-time defense, which means he don't even have to really have 38-7 to get to the Super Bowl. If Aaron Rodgers plays a good year, they should have a chance to get to the Super Bowl. That's what I'm saying. They have everything. There's no excuses to where you can look at it and say, man, if Aaron had another receiver, well, they got you Mike Williams. Man, if Aaron had a good defense, well, you got arguably one of the best defenses in the National Football League. Man, if Aaron could just had a run game, well, you got a really good run game. They have everything. So that's why I say, listen, Patty is there. I'm not saying it's just going to be easy to go through Patty, but with what they have, and if Aaron Rodgers is capable of playing at the level he's capable of playing at, this team should make it to the Super Bowl. And that's all that matters. To me, I don't care nothing about playoff wins, none of that. This is a 4-time MVP. He has to get back to another Super Bowl.
Here's the problem for me, personally.
Just one?
There's lots of them. I'll run through them. The Jets haven't been to the playoffs
13 years, I believe.
13 years.
14.
A lot of bad
13, 14
play.
years. Yeah. They have the longest stretch of playoff drought in the NFL. Might be in, like, major sports, but I'll just stick to the NFL. They haven't been to the playoffs in a long time.
I know.
So to go to not making the playoffs in that long of a stretch, so then making it to the Super Bowl, seems it's a bridge too far for me personally. That's a lot to do. Also, while Patrick Mahomes exists, I am not so dismissive of all of the other great talents and teams that are in the AFC that might also have something to say about it. There are a lot of good quarterbacks. There are a lot of good teams. Patrick Mahomes has kept a lot of them out of the Super Bowl, but Aaron Rodgers hasn't kept a lot of them out of the Super Bowl in the AFC. In fact, none. In fact, he's not even played in the AFC for more than 4 plays. So I do think it's a bit disrespectful to all those other good teams and good quarterbacks to say that the only person who's going to have something to say about the Jets making to the Super Bowl is Patrick Mahomes. If I'm the rest of the AFC, I'm like, that's cute. What about us? And they should feel that way because they've been doing it. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to look like. I don't know what the Jets are going to look like. But to make it to the Super Bowl would be a miracle. A miracle.
Not with what they got.
Yes, with what they got. There's steps. Like, can we have steps here? I don't even like talking about Matthew Stafford because Sean McVay is a great coach who already went to a Super Bowl before Matthew Stafford got there. I don't like talking about Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians was a great coach. They had lots of talent, and it was Tom Brady, the greatest winner in the history of sports. That's not Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is an outlier, super talented individual player. He does not have the team success to back up anything when it comes to sitting at the table with Tom Brady. It's not comparable. They just don't have comparable resumes. So I think Aaron Rodgers, if we knew we were getting MVP Aaron Rodgers, I would shut my mouth. I'd still have some reservations because he hasn't had the team success to validate saying that they should get to the Super Bowl. But we don't. The last time we saw Aaron Rodgers, he was just okay.
He was just okay. 2-5, you did a lot of highlighting, big dog. I need you to educate.
Yeah.
Successful.
You know, it's funny, man, because I remember when I first got on the show, we would talk about Super Bowls like it was just everybody's gonna win them. And I'm just like, yo, can we chill on the Super Bowl talk because nobody's really winning them but a select few people, right? And then we back to it again. We just back to it. I thought we was over there. I thought we just agreed that we wasn't doing the Super Bowl thing. And let me just calm it down for a second. Aaron Rodgers is a phenomenal player. Great career, right? 13 years, 14, what was it, 14 years? 15
I think as a starter. As a starter, he got like 16.
Yeah, 16, but overall like 20, something like that?
Yeah, I think 19.
At 19 years, he's only had 1 Super Bowl appearance. And we think in his later years he's supposed to just go back. So I won't even talk about Super Bowl, because I don't really do that. I don't really joke with the Super Bowl thing. It's so hard to do. I'll think something that's more realistic. Let's talk about winning the division, right? I think a team like the Bills, who are not super elite again, I feel like, on defense and on offense, you lose a lot of key pieces. The Patriots, I mean, they're a project. We're trying to see what that is, right? And then the Dolphins. They're a good team, but Tua here and there doesn't show up. That's the truth of it. I think they can win this division. Good defense, good offense, good players around Aaron Rodgers. I just don't want to look at this. The best of his career was the Super Bowl. But that was so many years ago. He was healthy, he was mobile, he wasn't in his 40s. So let's just stick to this winning the division.
Now, Shady, what you're saying, I believe, is realistic. I think what you're saying is... Hold on, 2-5. I think what you're saying is realistic.
Oh, that's cool, but they fired.
They're fired if they win the division?
Man.
I don't believe so.
And if you lose the first round of the playoffs, yes.
They ain't been there in years.
This is the longest stretch of not making the playoffs in the NFL right now.
But not only that, we didn't expect them to go those years. The quarterback play was so bad. The team was so bad.
It doesn't matter.
Like, the best quarterback they had was Mark Sanchez, and I like Mark, but that's the best quarterback they had.
Wait. So you telling me, as an owner and a GM, you went from never winning nothing, right?
Correct.
So you make it to the playoffs, winning the division, you don't think they're going to get, you don't get them fired for that?
Bro, so you mean to tell me everything that they're doing right now for this team, the way they are building this team, is to say one and done in the playoffs is cool?
It's not.
They are trying to build a Super Bowl team.
Where you coming from? See, this is the thing, right? Where you coming from? That's like a dude that come from the projects, right?
Get a couple M's.
You know what I mean? And then we give you $2 million. You're like, yo, I'm cool.
Yeah, no,
compared to you just try to, you want to go to the billions? Like, take it easy, bro.
Take it easy.
That makes sense.
Hold on, though. I think there's a chasm between y'all's takes because, Shady, you gave a realistic expectation for the Jets.
Right.
You said winning the division. I believe that's very realistic. I think they're not the odds-on favorite. I believe they're second to the Miami Dolphins, if I'm not mistaken. But what we're talking about is success.
For Aaron Rodgers.
Success for Rodgers. Shady, I think what you're saying is realistic, but is winning the division a successful season alone? Like, if all they did was win the division, would we leave the season?
They don't do that all the time. They never do that.
He does, though. It's Rodgers. He does that all the time.
Did that. Not does, did. Not does, did.
And why would Super Bowl? And my thing is, why would the Super Bowl be the biggest success? In 19 years, he's only been there one time. I ain't even saying win. I'm just saying he hasn't went. He's not even been there once.
And that's why I say he has to get back. You have accomplished everything else. Why accomplishing the same thing?
Think how that sounds. I'm in 19 years, right? When I'm the best of the best, four Super Bowl or four MVPs, my best of my best, I still didn't get there. So why would I'm on my last leg, literally, on his last leg? You get what I'm saying?
I agree. I think making the playoffs is a successful season for the Jets. I don't know how you could get greedy all of a sudden. Like, based off what? Based off the name of Aaron Rodgers? It's a name.
The question.
The last time we saw him play, he played 4 plays, popped his Achilles. Now he's 40. He'll be 41 midseason. The last time we saw him play, we could pull up comps to those numbers for a lot of guys. We would not walk them in and say that they are expected to win, to get to the Super Bowl. I understand what he used to do, and we hold him in that regard because of what he used to do. And nothing he does with the Jets or anybody else is ever going to take anything away from what his legacy is. It's cemented. It's hard. He is who he is. We know that. He did what he did. So he walks in the building with that resume. But what do we do with this now?
So that's why I say a successful season for Aaron Rodgers. We've seen everything multiple times. Yeah. We've seen everything.
Hold on.
So a successful season for you is you got to get your butt back to the Super Bowl.
You're talking about Rodgers, which I understand. I believe Joy and Shady are talking about the Jets. Because I was writing down as y'all were speaking. The Chiefs, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Lions, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Texans. I believe those are the teams who winning the division alone would not be a successful season. The Chiefs, the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Lions, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Texans. Yeah. If all they did was win the division, I don't think it would be a successful season for those teams. But I believe it's because those teams, we've seen them do that recently. James, we haven't seen the Jets do it recently, but we've seen Aaron Rodgers do it a lot. So I think that the tension to me is like you have Rodgers' expectations, but Joy talking about the Jets. She's talking about these Jets. So based upon the fact of the Jets haven't had any success lately, don't you think Jets staff, owner, GM, so if they win the division, maybe win a playoff game, they'd be like, you know what? Good season.
So the last time the Jets had a really talented roster, with Mark Sanchez at the quarterback spot,
championship game.
with Rex Ryan at the head coach, they went to the AFC Championship
back-to-back.
Yeah.
They have that type of roster with a quarterback that is way better. What should the expectations be for the Jets? And I know they have not been there in a long time, but if they do not get to the Super Bowl, I think that is a failure of what they got. They ain't had him. They had him.
But what they
can't
did
get to the divisional round?
A really good defense.
No, what they did have was the same guy, right? I keep talking about the Super Bowl thing. I keep playing with it. Even back then when you talking about, who was winning everything?
Brady.
Who winning it now?
Patty.
You see what I'm saying? As much as we want to throw the Super Bowl thing around with all these players, it's only the select guys that's winning it. It's only one trophy.
I understand what you're saying.
I hear you, bro.
Okay, could you give us this AFC Championship game? If they win the division, they're the 4th seed. In the first round, they play the Buffalo Bills. They play the Bills. They beat the Bills. Then they go to the second round. Second round, they beat the Bengals. Then they go to the AFC Championship game and they lose to Pat. James Jones, you would come on speak, and I would ask you, did the Jets have a successful season? And you would say,
it's up in New York. They beat Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. You ain't gonna be able to talk to a Jets fan for 20 years.
I would say no, because I guess me playing with this dude, I would say no.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.